everybody, we're back. I'd like to start our journey off at the API host GitHub site that has all the information we need to make connections to the free currency rates API. Now, I want to go over a couple changes I made to the code I would like you to make as well. In the model, get currencies, I decided to change it up a little bit because of just poor naming conventions. So for example, currency strings, I added an S there because it's a list of strings. And then for code in currency map.keys, that's the same. I decided instead of str, which is actually just the name of the function to convert any value into a string, it's a bad idea to name your variables after built-in functions. And so I decided to name it currency equals currency code map code, and then currency strings plural dot append code plus the dash plus currency return currency strings. Okay, so that change was made. You might want to pause and make sure yours reflects that. Otherwise, you might have an error if you follow part of this, but not everything. Now what I would like to do is, I'm going to go wacky here. We've got currency code map at this point. I'm going to get rid of all of that and just put my little curly brackets. What we're going to do is we are going to make our API calls before, and we're going to do that. In order to make the API calls, we're going to need to import the library called request. So you're going to write import request. And it probably will have an underline on it, or it might when you install it. So if you're using Poetry, like I talked about, you could in the terminal just type Poetry add requests. And as long as you don't have anything blocking installation, we can do that. At this point, I think I already installed it at one point, so I think it's just basically resolving it, whatever. You may need to run a Poetry shell or even Poetry update if you haven't done it. I think it already did it, so I'm not really worried. Yeah, it gave me the same thing, no dependencies to install or update. Okay, so make sure you got that. If request isn't working, use Poetry, or if you're using like pip env or pip, some other packaging model, you can do it that way too. But you want to get requests involved. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an API call, and so we're going to basically make the API call. So make API call to get currencies. We're going to break it up into a couple variables, and we're going to use request to get it, and we're going to end up with a dictionary that does the same thing, but with everything that is available. So we're going to scroll down here, and there's the URL structure. Now, if you look here, you'll see whatever API at, and you'll have an API version / and then you might see a date. And then an endpoint. So we're going to separate the endpoints and some of this stuff here. So you'll see currencies. To get all the currencies, endpoint is /currencies. And then you'll add either the .json or the .min JSON. I recommend you do this. So I'm literally going to just copy this link right here. Or you can just click it, go there, copy the link. I'm going to post that in the video so you'll have that available. And then currencies will be the endpoint. So what we're going to do here is, before we do that, we're going to type URL host equals. Now I'm going to put the full string here, but now we're going to break it up. Currencies was the endpoint. So I'm going to cut that, and then we're going to add the .min.json after. So then we're going to put endpoint, and I like doing this so that you can kind of see how APIs are listed, and endpoint equals, and we're going to paste currencies, and then we're just going to put ext extension equals .min.json, .min.json. Just like that, and then we're going to build it all together. We're going to write URL equals URL host. I don't know where the H came from. URL host plus endpoint plus ext for extension. And then I'm going to do requests or response equals, and then we're going to do requests dot get. I'm going to try to get our URL. Now, Here's the thing. That response may have we might have different responses here. So I'm going to put a little breakpoint in here. And I'm going to save my changes. And then I am going to print response down here. And have my breakpoint here. So it's going to pause it and then try to get the response. Let's see if I can get that to work. So I click debug and I run this. And it should pause right at line 42. Oh no, it did it. Okay. So already we have the URL host, all that stuff. Right, so now we're going to try to get the response. I'm going to click here. Notice there's a bit of a pause. That's because it took a while to make the connection across the internet and all that good stuff. Now, response. And you see that 200? That's what you want. If the response is 200, we can then do it. But we got to figure out where we get, okay, if the reason is okay. So now we're going to double check, make sure that's a string. Yep, it is. Okay, so we're going to do a little if check here. If, I'm going to put response.ok is equal to, wait, this is a, if response.ok, that right there will tell us if it's true, then we have a connection. Success. Oh my goodness, and I deleted the currency code map. Now I regret that I did that. All right, so now we're going to do currency code map equals response.json. Okay, we know that's going to work, but just in case, else, we're going to make that currency code map we had from before. Now, thanks to GitHub, I actually still have the code on GitHub. I'm going to have to go find it, and I'll come right back. In the meanwhile, you can pause this video and check your code and see if you got it working. Sure enough, there it is. I found the commit that had the currency code map. So I'm just going to copy that and have that in place. We're going to want to get some default values just in case, but probably an alert to say something along those lines. I'm going to hit enter and paste and save. Make sure I don't double. Okay. All right, and then these should be tabbed over. Let me just stop that. I'm just going to highlight all of that and tab those over. Because remember, this is what happens. What just happened there? Control Z. Control Z. There we go. I accidentally hit the back key. I meant back tick. I meant that. Okay, so then we're going to have this happen here. So either way, it's going to work, right? Let's run it again and just test this out. Run in debug mode. And we wait, and we click, if response is okay, currency code map equals, currency code map has been set. Perfect. I'm going to stop this. Let's see what that did. Okay, so if the response is okay, it means everything's good. We can then convert it into a JSON object, which technically converts it into a dictionary, just like you see here. Now, I'm going to fix that little space there. I'm going to save my changes. Let's go to the app and run it and see if it's working. Remember we have that model.currencies. I'm not changing anything. The only thing that's different is my call to the API gets me the full-blown currency code map direct from the API. All right, so let's go ahead and run it. And let's take a look. All right, Euro, click. Oh, look at that. Look at all of that code. I didn't code it. That was done in real time using the API call. Same thing here. No, everything else is the same. You notice it still has the default value of USD to Euro. All right, we're 9 minutes in and we got this thing working. All right, so what we're going to want to do is I'm going to create one more function and test it out. And then in my final video tutorial, I will go over the all of the controller, the functions that will deal with the window. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to model. And now what we want to do is we want to try to make an API call to get a conversion. Okay, so right here, this is to get currencies. And guess what? We have the get currencies here. And it returns a string. Oh, we still want to get that. We could have a get all currencies and make that a function. Let's do that. Okay, check this out. I'm going to highlight all of this. And I'm going to scroll all the way down. and then we could call it get currency map, get currency code map. All right, when I highlight it all, and this is VS Code, it's only going to work on VS Code, I'm going to click on here, show code actions. I click there, I'm going to extract a method. Now, I'm going to call this get currency code map. That's what we're going to call it. It's going to return the currency code map. Oh, and it even returns the response and the currency code map. And then it says response, comma, currency code map equals get currency code map. Holy cow! This is awesome. All you really have to do is just tab everything over and just define it as DEF get currency code map. And then everything's tabbed, and then instead of just returning the currency code map, you can return response, comma, currency code map. And then you say response, comma, currency code map equals get currency code map. Wha-bam, you got it. Let's test it and run the app one more time, making sure that the app still functions as we wanted it to. Wait for it. Now I notice there's a bit more of a pause in between running it and getting it. Oh, and I have it in debug mode, so I want to turn debug mode off, click on app, and run it up here. I was wondering why nothing was popping up just yet. There it is. Got all of them. Cool. And then if I had no connection to the internet, it should still work. All right, I'll deal with that on another time. All right, the last thing I want to do is the idea here. So now we have one function that gets currency code map, and let's get exchange rate. Now, before I code the next part, I already recorded it, and I had 8 minutes of me fumbling around, making lots of mistakes. So what I'm going to do is fast forward the whole thing so you don't have to watch me struggle, and then we can see the end result afterwards. Okay, so let me walk you through what I did to get the exchange rate and get it working. Okay, so the latest, I needed to have currencies added to the URL host. And then I'm pretty sure I could put the minified version of it. But I had to also have the slash there, so be careful when you're doing your URLs. As soon as you do that and it doesn't work and you get a bad response, I would immediately go to the API site and just double check to make sure, and then I would also verify the host. Other than that, it was the same. And then remember we did that if response.ok. I decided to return, and I made this little change. I don't even know if this is in the video. I made the change on the get currency map to return not the response, but the response.ok to determine whether it was a successful response or not, and the currency code map, because that way it lets us know that we did connect to it and we have it. So that if it doesn't connect, One, you could log it and then determine what do you do about it. Is there something about the code you need to change? The other thing you could do is you could still have it work and then maybe just have some default setting to say it's currently unavailable, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there's the currency code map, which you're going to get either way. We did the same thing on here. And then I just gave it a rate of 0. I mean, I don't know. Either way, that's going to cause a problem, but I have this response.ok rate. And then I did change a couple things inside of here. I had to pass it currency code map. I didn't like that, the way I had set it up, because I didn't make the currency code map outside of a function anymore. It's now in a function, get currency code map, so you had to do that. And so I decided to pass it in. So by passing it in, anytime we call get currencies, you got to pass in a code map. So we did that again here. And I changed this not to response, but to say success, comma, currency code map, get currency code map. And then currencies equal get currency code map. There I had to throw that in, which meant I had to do this call before I could do the currencies. And then on the exchange rate, same thing, success, comma, rate equals get exchange rate. And you saw that we got a value when I printed it out. Right down there is the value. Okay, so that's all I have time to talk about this time. But before we go any further, let's make sure we didn't crash the app. So I'm going to click on app and I'm going to run it. And then if it runs, great. If it crashes, we have a problem, Houston. And I don't see it running. Let me check something here. Okay, it is working now. And I can see all the values. So I know this works. I forgot to save changes on model. If you're doing GitHub, I would definitely commit and push your changes, because we did do a lot of good stuff. We have one more tutorial to go. In that tutorial, I will cover all the remaining stuff to basically create our calculation and to do all the code that we need. So thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for one more installment.